Hey guys, we're out in the garage. I got the carbon diffuser and I've got a M4 carbon wing on the 340. And so the next thing I wanted to do was put a carbon fiber front lip on the car. And I've been looking high and low for a good quality. Keys apparently had a good one. They don't make it anymore. This is the M Sport bumper, M Sport package on this car. So I couldn't find that. I ordered a front lip off eBay. It was absolute junk. Like the way the foil was, the top foil, the foil looked fine. It was glossy carbon fiber, and then it would come down and just end. It didn't actually, the foil didn't loop under the car. So anytime you would scrape, you'd be scraping on a vertical, really, really thin piece of carbon. So sent it back. And I actually found ECS Tuning makes this lip. This is the one I ended up getting. And I'm pretty happy with it. I haven't got it on yet, but the test fitting looks pretty good. I mean, like any lip, the back corner of these vertical contoured pieces, they don't quite tuck the whole way up to the mesh on the car, on the grill. So I did put a piece of vinyl tape, black vinyl tape along here, curved it out, and then I left it a little bit long on both ends, and just after you put it on there, I think it'd be real easy to just real gently pull up on that tape so it's up on the edge of the carbon, and then run a sharp blade down the edge of that. So I'll trim that up after it's on. I've got 1-inch VHB tape, probably an excessive amount. My future self will probably hate my current self, but my current self doesn't want this to come off, so that's what we're rocking with. So hopefully heat gun will save me in the future if I ever need to get this off. I'm hoping this is a permanent install, but there are some scary stories online about guys not having these lips last very long. So I'm hoping that's the more low-end cheap lips, but this is pretty decent. This is, let me get this flipped over so you guys can see it. So this is actually solid carbon here, like this foil. And this is what I was after, like almost like an airplane wing foil, not a hollow underneath. I almost bought the AA Concepts foil, and they did answer my email back and said theirs is open on the bottom, so I did avoid it, and it's a similar price to this one. This is from ECS Tuning. Turner Motorsports also has it. It is pre-drilled in the center. And then on the sides, the way they did it was they drilled a hole for the 8mm screw on the corner of the car. So in the corner of these bumpers, there's a plastic rivet, and then that is an 8mm self-tapping screw that goes up into the, there's like a clip on the black plastic backing. And so that is meant for that. And then if you flip it over, they've got a cavity molded into the carbon. I don't know if you can see see that contour, but the idea, I believe, since this is hollow, you're not going to put a fastener through there and smash that carbon. I mean, the only option you would have would be to hog a hole like I've seen guys do out of the bottom layer and then put a fastener through there. I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to actually through bolt a lot of this, but that little cavity I think is meant for that little plastic rivet to sit into. So they're not wanting you to use that plastic rivet there. They're just wanting you to basically leave it in the car and then lay this over top of it so that it'll kind of sit in that cavity. So I've cleaned all this up with alcohol, cleaned the bumper really good with alcohol. I'm gonna through bolt into the lip of the car, the bumper, and put stainless. I bought some stainless bolts. Show you that. So we got some stainless hardware. We're gonna through bolt with nuts, washers, the whole machine bolts. Those are like pan heads. And then I took the splash belly pan off the car, and that will allow us, there's actually, let me show you that piece. This piece is a factory piece for the car that actually tucks up behind the factory bumper. It tucks up in here. So I've removed that. This sits far enough back on the bumper that the fasteners for the foil will not go into this piece of plastic. So I've pulled this out. This is held in with those plastic rivets across the bumper. Sorry for the camera work. I'm a better mechanic than I am a photographer, videographer. Okay, and then show you, it's just so you can match it up with your car. So if that's in there, then these are where the 8mm bolts are. hold the belly pan on the car. Okay, so these are plastic rivets. These are the 8mm, since these are all out. And then there's a million, I don't know, probably 28mm that you gotta remove. They're all going into these clips, like nut clips. I don't know what you call these. They slide onto a piece of plastic and they'll allow you to put one of those self-tappers into there. So anyway, I've pulled that out, and what that'll do is give me access to the back side of this bumper. And in this front, probably 2-inch section, there's actually some plastic structure in here, which is giving the bumper some rigidity. So after I get the lip on, I'm gonna drill those 2 holes out, and then I'll hopefully be able to reach my hands up in here and get a nut started on one of those machine bolts that goes through the bottom. So I'll leave the pan head on the bottom, up through with a washer on the bottom, and up through, washer on the back if I can get it. That's why I bought those flared nuts, in case I can't get a washer on the back. They're kind of have a flared washer built into the nut. That's the plan. And then on this side, you've also got, you can see that plastic structure on the inside of the bumper. So these are where some of those plastic rivets go in, and the foil will cover most of the bottom of this area. So I'm planning to drill through and through bolt into this inner plastic structure. So I mean, this you can through bolt into the bumper too. It's just, if you can get into some of this black plastic inner structure, I think your strength is way better. So that's what I'm going to plan to maybe put 2 through bolts on the sides here, the 2 in the center, and then we'll see where we fall in here, whether I need another one, or we'll play it by ear. There's going to be a good bit of tape, and then the through bolting I think will be fine. From what I see with that there's no instructions with that foil, but I believe they're wanting you to use the two 8mm self-tappers, and then two bolts in the center along with the tape is what they're wanting you to do. So I'm just going to add a few above and beyond fasteners just to make sure this thing doesn't go anywhere. The factory BMW one that I was considering, I was thinking about it because with it being plastic, I think it would give more, and potentially if you bumped into a parking block or something, it might take it a little better. I wasn't wild about the black plastic not matching the carbon on the car, so I thought about wrapping it in carbon fiber vinyl. Started thinking about it, and I just think over time that wrap's going to start to degrade on the front of the foil when it hits bugs or stone chips, which I think those vinyl wraps are kind of self-healing, but I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me. Felt a little weak not going full carbon, but we'll see if this cracks. This actually did come from ECS Tuning with a little crack in it here. Not a bad one. I did call them. They said they'd either replace it, or they gave me, I think it was like $60 off, like about 10% off, which from more than 2-3 feet, you can't really see it. So I figured that's fair. So I'm on Christmas break, so I kind of just want to get this on the car and get moving with it. So, but yeah, we'll put her on there. I'll come back and let you know how things are going. But I plan to take the backing off this tape and then try to angle that up and like slip it over the bottom of the bumper where there is no tape. So I'm hoping that works well. I'm a bit nervous about that. I'm tempted to do these 2 strips because that's not going to seat until it's fully on the car. I just don't know if I can get this red backing off from the backside, I guess, if that makes sense. I might try that, but I'm kind of tempted to just take the backing off all 3 pieces. I think for ease of install, if you omit this top strip, it would definitely be way easier to get it installed and fully seated on the car. I do have a heat gun on the ready in case I need to heat things up to move it in any. I think heat's the way to go to get this off, but it also, like when I put the wing on the car, heat makes this tape stickier as you're putting it on the car as well. So I'm hoping I can just shove these on. Most of the guys I've seen put these on, if you do a hard shove to get it started, they've been able to get the lip onto the tape. So yeah, I'll come back after I get it at least taped on there, show you how things are fitting at first, and then we'll try to get the 8mm bolts lined up and the 2 outer ones on, and then we'll go from the center, and then we'll add just additional fasteners that, you know, I guess they really don't intend you to put on there, but we'll do it. All right, we got her taped on there. If I were to do this again from scratch, I'm happy with the way this turned out. This is fine. But I believe the way this is shaped I give you a side profile here, you can tell the lip flares out. So I don't think that bottom row of tape I had was doing a whole lot. So if I had to do it again, the top row definitely, and then the top surface, definitely put some on there, and then a top bit here. And I think what I would do differently is the way this conforms to the bumper, I would put a vertical strip here just for a little bit of extra, I guess, seam sealing or, you know, strength along the edge of the lip. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. But that would be the only change I did. And I did use heat. I heated up the top and the front carefully with the heat gun. You don't want to hurt your clear coat, but just to get this warm, and that way you can get that tape adhesive activated a bit better. The other thing it does is it makes this carbon a bit malleable, so you can actually press down a little better and get the tape really, really on there. So I got that on, and then I put this is the first problem I've noted. I got these 8mm in, and they're not long enough, so they no longer get tight into that nut cert that's up inside the fender. So I'm gonna have to come up with a solution with a longer screw here. They go in, don't get me wrong, and they're holding. I mean, it's not, most installs, at this point you hear the guys, oh, that's not going anywhere, but I'm thinking that's not as permanent as it should be. That should get actually tight, and it's not. Now along the bottom here, I've taken all these fasteners out. So what I'm gonna do is probably get a rotary tool and just hog this out a little bit so that I can get access to these rivets. I wanted everything flush. I probably could have left these in for ease of install. I think there's an 8mm here, a plastic rivet and a plastic rivet. They could have all stayed in and then let this push down a little bit. But I'm thinking if I just barely notch this 8mm will actually catch the lip. I'm hoping I don't have I don't think it's quite as thick here as this double layered carbon is over here. So I think this one will catch okay and tighten up. And then these plastic rivets, I'll just notch that out enough to get them in. But yeah, so I'll drill some holes in the center here and start getting this through bolted up and let you know how that goes. The front one's, I'm not gonna lie, this front bolt here is gonna be hard to catch with a nut. We'll see how that goes, but I'm gonna drill that as a real small pilot hole in case that has to be a self-tapper. I'd much rather it be a through bolt. The rear, it's into that meaty plastic, and so that'll be fine. That's easy to get to. I can slide a wrench up in there. But the front one, it's a ways up in the bumper, so we'll see. Worst case, the bumper's got to come off to get it on right, but I don't think we'll get to that. Get creative. Okay, we're putting these bolts in the center of the lip here, and I wanted to show you this. So these are they're 10/32 stainless, and then I've got, I should have showed you the nut before I put it in there. These are those flare nuts. So they've got like knurling in them, basically like a washer built in. And I am glad I got these because getting a washer in there as well, you can do it. It's just going to take a little bit more patience and frustration. But let me show you what we're dealing with here. So I just tucked a flashlight up in here just so you can see what you're into. And I've got these long double jointed pliers. I don't think you'd have to have these, but it does make the job easier if you've got something to reach up in there and hold that nut. And so that front bolt, that's what you're looking at. So you can see that beefy inner plastic. That nut is what I've installed. So that's the first 10/32 sticking through there. So that, I'm real happy with how thick that plastic is and how rigid it is. Now I did lie to you before, because this is the back bolt coming through. And it comes right in front of that plastic. So it's not actually through. So the front one is absolutely key to get through bolted in my opinion. Just because that's into a lot more bumper structure because it's into that inner plastic. But anyway, I reached up in there and held that with these double jointed pliers. You can slide it right up in there, hold that nut, and then run it up in there. They're just Allen, so nothing major. This is just the part of the install that I really wanted to R&D before I pulled the trigger on this lip, and I couldn't find any info on what was inside this bumper. I saw Keys was actually removing the bumper. I think that's completely unnecessary, but if you want to do it, it's not hard to pull the bumper on the F30, so it would certainly make it easier to access the back, but you definitely don't have to. So this is the way I'm going. And then over here, like I said, you can access these. I can easily drill through that and access these. But that's where we're at. So I'll get another nut in the back of this one, and yeah, we'll be. Or don't forget, I did put a washer on the front one, so I'll pull this one back out and get a washer on it. But yeah, that should take care of the center for sure. It'll be nice and solid, and then we'll put a couple more through bolts on the sides, and we'll be home free. Okay, wrapping this install up. So what I did, these are 3/4. I should have told you guys, these center ones are 1-inch 1032s, and then I put three 3/4 1032s with washers and those flare nuts on the back. So to give you an idea, that's the 8mm in the corner, and these are definitely not long enough. While I was using the rotary tool, this has backed out. So this is, like I said, it screws in, but it doesn't get tight. So that's to do. I got to get a longer one of those before I drive the car. I did take the rotary tool and notch these, got my plastic rivets in, barely notched this, and this 8mm does, like I thought, go nice and tight. So that actually does pull this up nice and tight. And then this hole was already here. This is that tapered section. So they did pre-drill that. I'm assuming they want you to use a self-tapper there, but or a through bolt. So that's a 3/4 through bolt with a flare nut on the inside. And then this is, you can see that inner plastic I was talking about. So I basically went on either side of these plastic rivets. So run your fingers on back up on underneath here. This one you've got plenty of room behind, like there's nothing vertical for a good ways here. In here, you got to be careful. Don't go too deep, because that plastic structure in there has a vertical piece of plastic. So if you drill your hole too far up this way, you're actually not going to be able to access your hole. It's going to be behind that vertical piece of structure. So just get your fingers up there before you drill, and you'll be fine. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. It's awfully solid. It's a really good install. So I'm happy with that. Like I said, the only thing I still got to do is, well, obviously put the belly pan. That's easy. But I did put that inner structure back in. The rivets all cleared nice. Everything's good. Nothing butted up against any of my fasteners. But the only thing I got to do is get these longer 8mm self tappers. I'm kind of tempted to use a through bolt here, but the problem is, like, the reason these are self tappers is it's holding this piece of plastic in here, and there's no way to access behind here. You know what I mean? Like the inner fender. It's, you know, it's an external fastener. So I'm going to see if I can't find a longer version of that. One tip I would give you that I didn't do, and now I can't, because this is all, I mean, I could if I completely took everything off, including that tape, but that little divot that I was telling you about where that plastic rivet goes in, it's not quite deep enough to completely countersink that rivet head. It's close, but if I were installing this from scratch and watching this video before I did it, I would take a rotary tool, and in that divot, I would hog that out so that plastic rivet can actually protrude down into the lip a little bit. That, or drill a hole and then a bigger hole on the bottom and put the rivet up through the carbon. You could do that as well if you want that rivet to actually be part of what's holding the lip on the car. But yeah, so this is, as far as fitment goes, it's pretty good. This section of the lip, I would say, you've got, it's probably 1/16 of an inch of gap. Wish it was a little tighter. I mean, you can push it up against the car. I think the only way you could maybe get that to fit is if you put a 1/4-inch strip of tape here. That might not be a bad idea. That way you could get this fully tight against the car. I wish I would have thought of that beforehand, but like I said, unless I rip it all off, I'm probably risking more harm than good at this point. This side, it is a little bit tighter, but like I said, a little strip of 1/4-inch tape there. What you'd have to do, I think, if you're going to do that when you test fit the lip, I would run a piece of masking tape along just to give you your line where the edge of the carbon goes, and then you could run a piece of 1/4-inch 3M tape just, you know, an 1/8 inch below the edge of that line. Did trim up my my vinyl tape, so you know you can't really see it unless you're really looking. In fact, yeah, maybe right there you can see a peek of it. But when I test fit this, you can see the silver paint really well, so that does a great job hiding that. And then, like I said, I just used a really sharp razor blade and pulled up on that tape and trimmed it around the edge. The only fitment thing I hear people complaining about is this gap on the side. And to be truthful, that doesn't bother me at all. Not at all. The rear diffuser gap that I was dealing with before is, I think, more of a panel gap issue than that. But that's more following a natural body line. So, but yeah, I'll give ECS Tuning some props on that lip. I'm pretty happy with it. Looks all right. We'll get it on the ground. I did measure, just if you guys are curious, what this lip is from the ground. This car is not lowered. This is stock suspension, and we're center of the lip. You're 5.5 inches from the ground to the center. Well, I guess I'll throw a tape on it. I'll get you a good measurement, but that's what I was seeing. So, but yeah, get some longer 8mm bolts and put the belly pan back on and be ready to run it. Big fan of how it looks, though. Big fan. Definitely makes the car look way more aggressive. Okay, all wrapped up. Got it ceramic coated. Well, the 3-in-1 spray. I used that Griot's Garage 3-in-1, but got it all shined up. And I used number 10, just a Phillips stainless screw with a fender washer. Stopped by the hardware store. Got the belly pan back on. But yeah, job done. Pretty happy with the way it looks. All right, that's the final product. Thanks for going along with me, and hopefully something I did here was helpful to you guys. I'll show you just before I wrap it up here. This is my final ride height. So I said 6.5, or sorry, 5.5. It's about 5 3/4. I'd say. Yeah, that's stock ride height. So I had, I tested it the other night, and I think it was just hanging on there. So that tells me it was just drooping 1/4 inch before I got all the fasteners on. But there it is. All right, thanks guys. See ya.